Hi everyone, how are you this wonderful day? Thank you for joining me on the channel. It's been a while again. I've left it for a couple of weeks or 3-4 weeks. I haven't recorded anything as yet. But yes, everything's going well, and I just wanted to maybe talk a little bit about our interests and how long it lasts. You know, if we have something like an aquarium or whatever hobby we do, you know, sometimes sometimes it fades, you know, and then you've got to pick up the enthusiasm again to get it going. You know, yeah, things can become a bit boring, but I think everything in life becomes a bit boring. Your job can become boring, and you've got to try and spice it up somehow. You know, and the same as a hobby. You know, you can have a hobby, but sometimes you need to leave it for a little while and then get back into it again, because sometimes you can overdo things. You know, I mean, if you want to do pottery or flower arrangements or cookery or whatever, you know, it's sometimes it does get a little bit much, and then you just need to let it lie low for a while and then revive it again. Because it is part of your passion. But what I found is, you know, I've tried to get into working on people's ponds and people's aquariums and doing cleanups and things like that. You know, I started it as a hobby, but now it's becoming a little bit of a business. It's starting off as a tiny business. You know, I said by the end of this year I want to start building ponds. But I have been doing cleanups of ponds and maintenance, fixing people's aquariums. You know, even to the point of taking parts of aquarium apart and putting them back together again, broken glass, and you know. So I've been able to do that and maintain things like that for people, and it's been quite rewarding. I've had a couple of crashes. You know, things don't always go 100% as you'd like them to go at times. Sometimes they do crash, but that's the nature of the game we're in. You know, sometimes things become very unpredictable, and what you need to do is, you know, also need to go with your gut feeling and what you know, and don't get pushed into doing things that you don't feel is right, because some disasters can happen. I mean, people can lose fish and stuff like that if you get pressurized. Rather stick to your gut and to what you know, and be strict on what you want to do, because you want to do a good job, and you want to come back from it. But yes, it's been nice, been rewarding, especially if you do a nice pond and it's crystal clear at the end of the day, and you explain to people of certain things they've never heard about, you know. And you dose their ponds or their aquariums with certain, not medications, they don't use medications, but with certain things, and you know, you get the ball rolling for them. And yeah, they've sort of a lot of people have neglected their tanks, huge tanks, for years, you know, and you've got to try and sort that out for them, you know. The mulm and the detritus that gets collected, and just the neglect, you know. As I say, people like the hobby, they like to start it, but then they just neglect it, and then they get people in like us who come in and sort it out for them. You know, sometimes it's a messy job, a real messy job, and but it's rewarding to see the end result, you know, when it comes together, and hopefully educate the people on how to maintain a tank, maintain a fish pond. People put a lot of money into a fish pond, you know, especially koi, which is, you buy a large size koi in the thousands of range, you know. I mean, it's very, very expensive, and if you want to put in, say, 15 or 20 of those, you know, you coughing out quite a bit of cash, you know. And so and they're pretty hardy. I mean, your kois are pretty hardy. They're a carp family, but still, you know, you want to see them. You want to see what you've bought, And if you just leave it, it's not to say that the fish don't enjoy brackish water or dirty water. Um, they're quite happy in it. They are quite hardy. I mean, the fish I've got is a community fish, and your tropical fish and your cichlids are a lot more sensitive to changes in water, especially the locally bred fish. They're more susceptible to temperature changes, because I mean, in the wild, you'd have your morning and your evening and your rainfalls and your cold spells, and you would have your different levels of heat, just below the water surface, and a bit lower down the water gets colder, so you get different species of fish and live in different areas and different substrates. But yeah, the fish in the wild are a lot tougher, but I mean, they don't really transport. We don't really export those fish anymore. That was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. They don't really do that because there are so many fish breeders today, and the fish are bred locally. They are bred in fish farms, or in people's own homes. So the fish that we get are a little bit more, obviously more sensitive, because their temperature is at a constant. Unless you have a power failure, but their temperature is at a constant, and they're not as hardy as a fish out in the wild, because the temperature changes all the time. Obviously it does, because of the currents, the undercurrents, and the weather as such. But yeah, so I've enjoyed getting into this hobby, as I call it, but I'd like to make it into a little business, because it's another income, it's something I really enjoy, and it spurs me on to do other things. It puts a bit more interest into my hobby, and I appreciate my aquarium and what it looks like, and I monitor it, and I look after it, and you can do a lot of reading about things, but you also gain a lot of experience by working on your own aquarium, the goods and the bads, and you have your failings and you have your triumphs over the years. My tank, as it is now, almost 3 years old, but as I say, after 6 months I stopped cleaning the substrate, and everything, it does its own work now. I mean, it's got its own biofilter underneath. The ecology is going so well. Everything is broken down into the substrate. It is taken up by the plants. I've got a lot of plants, and so I don't and I've got a lot of snails as well. And as we call it, the cleanup crew. The Corydoras and your loaches and stuff that eat the food that is dropped down to the bottom. So basically, when I look at it, it's clean. I don't see any detritus at all. And obviously, yes, your filter keeps going. I just cleaned out my DIY filter about 3 weeks ago. Took out quite a lot of mulm and stuff like that. But it looks after itself. So the only maintenance I do really is I clean the glass in the front and the back, because sometimes there's a little bit of algae at the back which I clean, which is some stubborn algae I clean off. And then my fish do the rest, basically, and I do probably 20-25% water change, maybe even less sometimes, and I dose it with my own water fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, and it basically looks after itself. It's not a problem to clean at all. It's always clean. Just the water changes color a little bit. It's obviously because of the bogwood I put in years ago, and the recent bogwood I put in about 6 months ago. So there's a little bit of tannins in it sometimes. It's a little bit of a yellowish color. But once I put in my 30-40 liters of water, it's nice and clear again. But it's so easy to do. It's once a system is working well, once it's working naturally, there's not much work to it. It's, and I say that, I've got a big tank, so it's even less work. Smaller tanks you can notice a lot more, but in a big tank you don't notice anything, and it seems to sustain itself. I mean, that is nature, and that is the whole goal of the game, is to get nature to do the work for you and to do it itself. And as it does it itself, it looks after itself, and it becomes a natural, healthy ecosystem, or natural, healthy environment for fish and plants and any other organisms that live in it. I mean, I've got water outside, and I just let it stand, and I use a little bit of that to fill my tank as well, because little things fly in there, little things get in there, little worms get in there. So it's you try and keep it as natural as possible. But yes, it's, as I say, it's a journey. It's a journey we all go on. And as I say, if you're getting a little bit bored with your hobby, you need to maybe just back off a bit. But please don't ever forget to do your maintenance. You've got to keep on with your maintenance. I've seen that with other people who do not do their maintenance, and it is terrible, especially with, sure, maybe the fish survive, I don't know how sometimes, but they do, and it's not nice to look at, and it's a big job to clean. So just weekly, every 2 weeks, just do a little bit of maintenance, water changing, checking things, and if you haven't got a planted tank or substrate that I've got, or if it's a thin substrate, you need to do your siphoning as well to get rid of that extra detritus, and keep your glass clean. It's not to say that you have to keep on this passion for every day of the year. As I say, it does fade, but it comes back again. And once your tank looks nice, I mean, you see your fish again, and you get a interest in it, and all of a sudden you may have some small babies floating around inside, and that brings another excitement, because something's working very nicely. It's becoming natural. It becomes exciting when you see little babies. I mean, I did a woman's tank. She couldn't see through the glass. It was so green. And then when you clean it all up, she's got all these little babies that you didn't know that she had, and it's wonderful. I mean, she gets excited, or the people get excited, and same with ponds. They all of a sudden they got hundreds of these little goldfish or comets, swimming around, and they get so excited because they haven't seen it for 2 years. Anyway, okay guys, if you wouldn't mind subscribing and giving me a like button, and I hope the year is a good year for you and for everyone else, and God bless. Thank you. Bye.